Day 2 at Edgbaston, and this test match continues to be fascinating. The scorecard is dominated by one person today, Australia's Usman Khawaja. He's helped Australia out of early trouble. They were 67 for 3 when Stephen Smith fell to who else really but Ben Stokes. Stokes' knee, such a focus coming into this test match. He actually bowled pretty well today, and Australia were in early bother. But it's a beautifully constructed 100 by Khawaja. His return to the test side 2 years ago continues to be a terrific story. This was an emotional century for him. He threw the bat in the air, roared in celebration. Much more outwardly, almost fiercely emotional than we've seen in some of his other hundreds, which have come in very significant parts of the world for him, Pakistan and India, in the last year. This was his first Test 100 in England. He'd been on 2 previous Ashes tours and dropped on both of them. He talked about that this evening, and he knows this is his last chance to make a mark on an Ashes tour in England. He started it in perfect style, and Australia will hope for at least parity now on first innings and maybe even nicking a first innings lead if their tail can stick around with either Alex Carey or Khawaja when they resume in the morning. But Vish, there's probably 2 players we need to speak about from an England point of view today. Stuart Broad started things in a manner we've become very used to seeing against Australia, and then Moeen Ali's first bowl in Test cricket since 2021. How did you assess those 2 plays of the day?
Well, I'll start with Broad because cards on the table, I didn't think he should be playing because I think England should have gone into the first test with their strongest 3, and for me that wasn't Stuart Broad. That included Mark Wood for the extra pace, and on a dose-up pitch, you know, who knows what might have happened. But certainly Stuart Broad is more than justified his place above Ollie Robinson and you know, James Anderson as well. I think the most spectacular thing about what Broad did was that he almost talked it into existence. You know, we obviously know the record against David Warner, but it felt a bit much that in the lead up to this test, Ben Stokes admitted that Warner's record against Stuart Broad was a reason to pick him, and you know that's fine. But you know, I suppose the more sensible argument is an opening batter who's out of form. Someone else can probably get him out in England in English conditions. But Broad was there. It was quite an ugly shot from Warner, who I thought played him well last night, seeing out those 2 overs from him, and then played out 2 maidens this morning. And then Marnus Labuschagne comes in, and he spoke to ESPNcricinfo in April, Stuart Broad did, about this outswinger he was developing, and he got a lot of traction because it was a bit proto Shane Warne, wasn't it? It was about talking about a delivery that no one had ever seen, except the fact that ever since people have bowled overarm, people have bowled outswingers. And first delivery gets him with it. You know, it's probably more on Marnus actually than Broad because he's talked about it, he warned you about it, and you still pressed forward and played when you didn't need to play. But it was a remarkable spell, and it really cracked the game open because it felt like even in that mini bit of the morning, it was veering a little bit out of England's control. That Australia would be able to play at their own pace, and though they did, and are in a pretty tidy position at the moment, there were periods during the game when it felt like England had Australia exactly where they wanted them. And then to speak about Moeen Ali, it's pretty much like he hasn't left, really. He's always bowled like this. They've always been pearlers. They've always been balls that people charge and hit for 6. It does make me wonder how much he actually practiced when he was an active Test cricketer. Because if he could just, put it down for 2 years and pick it back up again and do what he did today, and he should have had more wickets. But I suppose we can talk about the drops. Bairstow missed stumping on Cameron Green at the start of Green's innings. There was also the thin edge to Alex Carey as well. It's an exceptional catch that Bairstow took, to be fair, to get rid of Labuschagne. But even that felt a bit ungainly, didn't it? Yeah. It very much relied on the fact that Bairstow is an athlete rather than a natural wicketkeeper. And I suppose, England know that. Obviously, there'll be people talking about Ben Stokes, but they've made their decision. They're pretty comfortable with that. They know what they're going to get. They're going to get the 75 run a ball 75 that they did on day 1. So the one thing to state with Moeen is at the end of the day, it did seem like he was having trouble with his spinning finger. He tore it in 2017, and ever since then it's been a huge point of contention for him and something he's never really been able to get over. I don't know if it's split, but it certainly seems like a problem, and I suppose we'll only find out tomorrow how he pulls up because he's going to have to do a bit more bowling.
Well, it's certainly the most Moeen will have bowled in a day in a pretty long time. The one other chance we should just mention is that Usman Khawaja did have a reprieve late in the day. Stuart Broad overstepping a perler with the second new ball that came back in from around the wicket, which is ironically not a line that's troubled Usman Khawaja as much as it has David Warner. Took it off stump. Usman Khawaja was making a slow walk off, and the even slower no ball call came through and England had to go back into positions. That does feel like the potential of being a very big moment. Khawaja and Carey have got through tonight. They can start again tomorrow. And if Australia do get a lead, it'll be very interesting to see how England go about their second innings. We know they'll go aggressively, but they will be potentially behind the game a little bit. But it's been a fascinating 2 days, and there's every chance we'll get a result in this test match.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.